Hello everyone and welcome back to Unicast-Administrators. Today and in this episode we will talk specifically about the root permissions, what they are and how you can grant root permissions to your administrators or just root permissions to specific commands for specific users. And in order to have a jump start, I have already logged in as the user Johnny on my server 1, where, as you remember from my previous episodes, Johnny it's added to the wheel group, and if you remember, we discussed about the fact that any user that it's added into this particular group will automatically grant root permissions or sudo permissions. And these permissions are basically the highest level of privileges that you can grant to users or groups in some cases, because you can use groups as well to grant root permissions. And basically this allows users to run administrative commands like changing passwords for other users, restarting services, modifying permissions of already existing files or directories, and so on, and many more. Another example would be that you can also patch your server. So for example, if I would like to see the status of the SSHD service, you will see that as of now I'm currently logged on as Johnny because my name appears here, but also at the end we have a dollar sign here, a dollar symbol. Basically this dollar symbol means that we are logged on as a normal and simple user, and running systemctl status on a service with a normal user, it's working because you don't actually execute any action. It's just a query of the service itself because you know what is the status of the server. And if I press enter now, you'll see that my service for SSHD it's running for 5 minutes. Well, if I want to restart this particular service and if I want to run systemctl restart SSHD, you will see that I'm already prompted to authenticate in order to be able to execute restart commands on systemd units. And we have this here as well. It's informing us that authentication is required to restart the SSHD service for Johnny. If I type in the password for Johnny, because I am already in the group wheel, I should be able to log in. But as you can see here, it gave me a connection timeout because it took too long for me to actually write the password in. So let me try again. Let me type in my password and you'll see that the authentication is complete. We don't have any output, but my command has actually run successfully. If I run systemctl status again, you'll see that the uptime for my service it's 10 seconds. So basically it tells us that our command ran successfully. If you want to avoid all of this entire message with red and words of failure, you can just type in front of your commands sudo. What this will do is that it will run the command with sudo privileges. So if I run again sudo systemctl restart SSHD, you will see that now it's asking me directly for the password, but it doesn't give me any warnings. And if I type in my password, you'll see that this has been executed successfully as well. But what if you want to avoid being asked for passwords? Well, there are two options. First, it's to sign in or switch to the user root, and you can do that like this with sudo su. And now if I type in who am I, you will see that the answer is root, because I have switched to root. So basically as root I can run the commands without any need to enter my password. And if I verify the status again, you'll see that it was restarted 5 seconds ago. That's one option. The other option, which I recommend, is to use visudo, because this is how you add users to your sudoers file. Basically visudo, it's this particular file, etc sudoers. If you look inside etc sudoers, and I'll use tail just to see the last results, you will see that, for example, here, our last user that I added here, it's Ansible. So my user Ansible, it's added with these parameters, which stands for all programs and all commands. He can use sudo permissions, or he can restart things with sudo in front of the commands, or he can do actions with that require administrative privileges on all services, on all machines. No passwd. It explicitly says that that Ansible, the user Ansible, will not be asked for a password, and all stands for anything else, any command, any server, and so on. So that's how you can grant sudo permission for a user, and you want that user to be to not be asked for his password every time when he runs sudo permissions. And the way you do this, it's recommended, and the best practice is to use the command visudo, which visudo does. It's like you would run vim or vi in etc sudoers, and do not ever edit the file like this. You can read it, but don't ever edit it like this. So this is a big no-no. The reason for it is that because if you do something wrong here, you can revert everything back, but it's not the desired method, it's not the best practice, and it's not the way that you should do this, because usually if something goes wrong here, it's a bit difficult for you to return it back or revert it. So the proper way to edit your sudoers file to grant users administrative privileges, it's to use vi sudo. So vi sudo in one word. I'll press enter, and now it will throw me inside that particular file where we can see the user root, where the user root, for example, does not have the NOPASSWD, so theoretically it will ask you to run commands, but not necessarily. Here we have the group wheel, where you can add users into your into this group, and any user that it's added in the group wheel will automatically have root permissions, and they will be asked for the password when they run sudo permissions. If we look here, we have the same thing, but without a password. So the wheel on top here grants sudo permissions, but asks for the password. This entry here does not ask for your passwords. Now, for security measures and best practices, you should never really do this NOPASSWD all. I will just run an example, and I will show you how, for example, I can add my user Johnny without any password to grant him full access on my server. But again, this is really not a best practice. Oh, let me remove my caps lock. So for example, if I log out of Johnny, and if I want to do again sudo systemctl restart sshd, you will see that now it did not ask me for a password anymore. Why? Because we specifically said that Johnny should not be asked for his password. So if you see here, we added Johnny with on the line with no passwd. Basically, he can now run commands without being prompted for a password. But again, this is really not the best practice. I don't recommend using this. I only showed this because I wanted to show that this is possible. What I will do now is that I will revert this, and I will revert it directly from the user Johnny. So I'll go with sudo visudo so that I can use this command. Otherwise, if I run visudo without anything, it will tell me that I have permissions denied. So let me run sudo visudo, and I will remove the entire line for Johnny because he is already in the group wheel, so he already has administrative privileges, but I don't want him to not be asked for his password. So now if we go again with sudo systemctl restart sshd, you'll see that now again it asks me for the password for the Johnny account. And pretty much this is how you can grant access for users, or to grant them sudo permissions or root permissions without asking them for a password, or to give them access to all of the commands inside the system. There is another option, of course, where you can grant permissions to users only to run specific commands. Now let's give Johnny, because we removed him from the wheel group, let's just give him permissions to run only one specific command. So we will do this by going again in vi sudo, and it doesn't really matter where you add the entry. I prefer to keep them in order, so I will add it at the end. And let's just give here a comment where we have users with access or root permissions to or only to specific commands. All right, so what I will do is I will add the user Johnny here, and I will type in the word all for all commands everywhere, but I will add on the equal sign, instead of having again all in brackets, we will actually add the commands, only the commands where we want to give Johnny access to. So in our case, oh my bad, let me take out the caps lock. So in our case, I want him to have access to the command user add. So I will add the path to that one, which is /usr/sbin/user add, and basically this will give Johnny permissions only to add users. I will also give him permission to sbin passwd, which will grant Johnny root permissions to execute password resets on other user accounts. But actually, let's also give him access to user sbin user mod, which basically allows him to use user mod commands to take out users from groups or vice versa. But I want him to restrict him from being able to reset the password for the root accounts. So we have here sbin passwd, which will allow him to run the passwd command against any user account in order to reset their password. But I really do not feel safe with Johnny having the possibility to run this command against the root user account, because I don't want him to change the password for the root account in order to gain access to higher and more advanced areas, or higher areas, let's put it like that. In order to restrict that, you can do like this. You add another colon here between the commands. You press the exclamation mark, because strictly speaking, or explicitly saying in Linux, exclamation mark in front of a command basically just blocks it. And we are going to type in the command again, or the path for the command, /usr/sbin/passwd, and then press a space and type in the word, or the name of the user that you do not want this command to work against. So let me say, write this. Let's actually write and quit, and let's cut here on sudoers file, and let's grab for Johnny, just for Johnny. So let me explain this again. So we have the user Johnny, then we use the all argument for all of the commands, but instead of adding a second all word in brackets, we actually explicitly declare to which commands Johnny should have sudo permissions only. So basically, Johnny, if tries to restart the services, the systemd service units, he will not be able to do that. He will only have access to these three commands: user add, change password, and user mod. So let's test that. Let's get out of root, and now I am again connected as Johnny. So let me type in who am I. Let's see, we are Johnny. So let's try to use the command user add without sudo in front, and let's see if this will work. And let's say user 22. This fails and it gives me a permission denied. Let's run the same command, but in front of the commands, let's add sudo, the word sudo, in order to escalate our permissions. This is like running a program in Windows when you right-click the program and you go with run as administrator. It's exactly the same. And now, there we go. We have created the user. If we type in sudo cat etc passwd and we grab for user 22, you will see that now we can see user 22. Run the passwd command on user 22 as Johnny with sudo in front of it. And there we go. It's asking me to type in the password for the user 22. So as you can see, Johnny was able to create an account, was able to reset the password for that account, and we can also use user mod commands. So for example, if I want to add user mod, so sudo user mod, if I want to add this user to a specific group, I will say -a, minus lowercase a for append, capital J for group, and I will type in wheel and user 22. So we just added the user 22 to the group wheel with the sudo command, because now Johnny can run that command as well. If I type in ID and user 22, we will see that user 22 now it's on the group wheel. So we can confirm that this was a successful command as well. Let's see if we can reset the password for the root account. So we type in sudo passwd root, and if we try to change the password, it's telling me that the password has been changed successfully. Well, that shouldn't happen. In that case, it means that I made a mistake. Let's see which mistake I made. I believe that the mistake that I made was right here. I added a space. I should have added this. All right, let's try again. Actually, let me just log in. Let me get back in. All right. So, sudo passwd root. There we go. So this is the mistake that I made initially. I rushed. So the mistake that I made earlier, it's that the reason why we were still able to reset the password for the root account, it's that between the exclamation mark and the path for the user has been passwd root, I added a space between the exclamation mark and the first /usr path. And this is the reason why initially I was able to reset the password for the root account. And after we changed that, after I removed this and after I removed the white space between the exclamation mark and the path, the prohibition on above this command works fine. So pretty much this was it, guys. I would like to thank you very much again for taking the time to watch my video. I am looking forward to seeing you next time, and I am hoping that you liked this. If you did like this video, then please consider liking the video and leaving a comment down below. And why not subscribe so that you can see all of the notifications for the future videos that I will post. Again, thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking the time to watch my videos. I'm looking forward to seeing you next time, and I wish you a good day and all the best. Cheers!